Hey, welcome back. It's Thursday. I know. It won't happen again. Kowalsky here. Welcome back to another video, another World Championship match. Of course, we're now still in 1910, and the story of this match is actually pretty interesting. Now, Janowski was a gentleman, a chess player born in Poland, but then he moved to France, so that's why you have he's French, and obviously Lasker. I got my Deutschland shirt here supporting Lasker. Okay, that aside, the match actually was played, I believe, mostly for money reasons, kind of, because Janowski had a founder, and his founder's name was Leonardus. Okay, he funded the match, and they had a prize pool without having to raise money from other sources, and that's mainly why I think that Lasker agreed to play him. Also because Lasker had previously defeated Janowski, and I just think that he thought he was just gonna get away easy, and Janowski actually trash talked. That's why the video is titled like that, and I want to paraphrase what he said. Janowski said that Lasker's opponent, they had better positions, but they were going for premature wins, and that he was gonna prove that Lasker's style is not actually that great, because he claimed that he studied hundreds of games by Lasker, and he said, and I quote, "Lasker's game was not chess but dominoes." Okay, and now with that trash talk, we finally go into the match. This is the first game of the match, and Lasker has the white pieces. Let's see if Janowski was right. We begin with a semi-Tarash, and this is actually a pretty modern variation. Now, usually players these days would play g3 or bishop g5, and this is what Lasker plays. This is a very modern game, actually, and here bishop e6 is played, and after e3, really there are only two main choices: knight c6 or c4. Now, when I first saw this c4 move, this reminded me of the game that I played in the tournament last summer, and that game went like this. So I had the different setups. So it's the Tarash defense. It's still the Tarash defense, but I had the G3 setup. So you can see, you can kind of see between these positions that the bishop was not yet on e6, and instead of going here for a move like e3, I didn't want to close my bishop, but I want to go knight to e5, bishop e6, and now here I was looking at this. Obviously there were tactics. We're not gonna get into this game, but I just want to show you that I played kind of a similar structure, and I just got reminded of the structure by watching this game, and but sadly c4 was not played. So obviously I'm fascinated, because this is something that I would play, a position that I would play myself. Instead of that, we have knight c6, but the main problem with the not playing c4 is that you would allow bishop b5. Now Lasker did not go for bishop b5. Bishop b5 can lead to some very interesting and dynamic variations. Lasker played instead bishop e2, a more tame variation. Now he took the pawn. Obviously, once the bishop moves, you want to make it move again. So he took the pawn, making black lose a tempo. But it's not the end of the world. Both players castles, and now we have rook to c1, a very principled move. Now the players are still following some games, bishop e7, and now knight to d4. Knight e4 here, also queen d3 is an alternative, but really knight e4 is the best, because you're setting up this bishop f3 idea with a lot of pressure on the pawn in the center. Rook c8 is played, and now queen to d2. And after this move, queen to d2, there's really two options for black. It's either you go queen to a5 or you take the knight. But Janowski does neither. He goes here, knight to e4, and this might seem like a fair trade, like you're trading a couple of pieces, but here you cannot actually take because of knight to e6. After f takes on e6, we'll now just get knight c5, and your position is just bad at the end of the day. The material is equal, but your position is just bad, and you have to take back the knight. But now this allows this trade and this trade, and now your position and your structure here is bad. So queen a5, straight up exploiting that. And rook f to d8, rook f to d1. Now you obviously want to trade, but bishop d5, right, kind of tries to glue everything together. No problem. b4. b4, a very nice move, stopping c5, and now rook to d6. And this rook to d6 is a one move blunder by Janowski. You have time to defeat world chess challenger or chess champion challenger. Okay, anyway, the words are not important. Rook takes on d5 is the tactic that you have to see, and Janowski resigned here. I don't know why he played one more move, but okay, Janowski could have easily resigned here because he cannot take this way. You're just gonna lose your rook, and the way that Janowski did it, well, he still lost his rook anyway. So maybe Janowski thought he was being smart. Maybe he thought he could have checked here, but bishop f1 and nothing. So that's the first game. So after all that trash talk, you lose the first game. Okay, it's not the end of the match. Obviously, it's a chess match. It's first to 8 wins. I think I failed to mention that. So first to 8 wins. Now the next 2 games were draws and were very long, hefty draws. So I'm gonna skip to game number 5. Now the colors are still the same. Lasker has the white pieces and Janowski has the black pieces, and we kind of have a repeat. I like to show repeats, but this time it's a little different here. Lasker plays e4, and now this variation is very interesting. This is one of the most interesting variations. Now this has not been played at top level, but if we check out the database, the Leech's database, it has actually been played at a pretty okay level in Blitz. And now after e4, white has a very nice conversion rate here after the move bishop b5, and I don't know why Lasker didn't play this move, because it's just very natural here. Like, let's say in knight d7, now you just go castles, and I mean, if you take the knight, then it's actually beautiful. You go d5 and you play in this very romantic style. I know it wasn't necessarily Lasker's style, but you know, you can just imagine how hype everyone would be if they would see something like this. You know, look at peace, sacrifice, and world chess championship, blah blah. But okay, that's only one variation. Lasker just decides to take with the knight, and it's fine, but now it's just a lot more tame, and there's room for error, and that's exactly the theme of the match. Now in this key position here, Lasker made a huge mistake, a huge mistake. Instead of going queen to d2, just setting up a queen trade and just blocking, he goes because queen d2, you might be a little bit scared of this move bishop to b4, and now after knight c3 and long castles, you might think that you're in a little bit of trouble, but you're not. Why? Because you can take this knight now with an attack on the queen. That's very important, and you know, you can capture here, but now you're just gonna capture the queen, and you know, after rook takes on b2, let's say, well, now bishop d4 for example, and you cannot rush to take here. Bishop takes on g7 would lose you the rook. It's very complicated. Black has some options here to not be lost. Like rook c2 for example, but okay, we're not gonna get into this variation too deeply. We're just gonna see why this is, you know, this would have been better to play the queen here to d2, because now after long castles, now, well, you don't have the same thing, because now the queen would have been taken with check, and you would lose your turn, and the attack on the queen you know, would have been cancelled. So a3 instead, setting up b4, and here's where I think Janowski fails in his whole approach philosophy, because here he should have played the move, for example, knight g to e7, or just bring another piece to the attack, but he played knight to h6, and this just allows Lasker to simply have something going for him. After b4, he kicks out the queen, and now knight c to b5 is played, and it's very interesting. You cannot take the knight now. You would think that you can just take the knight, and then after knight takes, well, just go knight f5 for example, but you cannot, because look at this, check, go king b8, and now knight to c6 check. So you have all of these things lurking in a position. You have to be very careful as black here. So that's why we have knight to f5 first, but okay, rook c1 still, and now every single tactic is is being able to be played at some point. So that's why Janowski decides to take this pawn and then just develop here calmly. But here's where Lasker just plays something amazing. He goes rook to c3, kicking the queen out, and now Janowski here had the option to go and sacrifice his queen for rook and a knight, and this would have been actually a very interesting and dynamic position that maybe he could have won, because he was known as a tactical player. But instead he decided to give a check, and okay, g3 obviously, otherwise you're getting mated, and now queen to e4 attacks the rook. But here Lasker plays something savage. He goes castles. In the middle of everything, he goes castles. And he forces Janowski to go back with the bishop. Okay, now the knight is attacked. So how are you gonna deal with that? The knight is pinned. Exchange sacrifice, and now well, this just opens up the ways. Bishop to f3, and after the queen moves, well, now just knight takes on a7, we check, king to c7, just knight takes on c6, b takes on c6, rook takes on c6, king to b8, rook b6 check, and now you're coming with the queen, and now you take here, and you just win the game. The game ended a couple moves later. Now you still have to be careful. This would have been a draw, funny enough. This would have been a draw. Actually, you would have to make this trade, and now this would be a draw. But obviously Lasker saw the win, and he just went for the win. So now Lasker is up 2 games. Well, Janowski has to make a comeback. The next game was drawn. The next game was won by Lasker. The next game was won by Lasker. The next game was won by Lasker. And that brings me to the last game. And now you obviously know Lasker won it. Lasker destroyed Janowski 8-0. It was just but I wanna quickly show you this last game. Now I was debating whether to show you a very interesting grind of an endgame or this insane dynamic game, and I decided obviously on the insane dynamic game. So we have a King's Gambit, the most romantic opening ever, and we have just an explosion in the center. What more could you wish for? Also doubling of the pawns, also early queen attack, and also just king in the middle, crazy, not castling. And the crazy thing is white is actually fine. Although this 93 move is a little bit dubious. Like already here at master level, there has only been 1 game that progressed to rook to g1, which is also a little bit dubious. Funny enough, f takes on e5 and a4 are kind of like the only moves. But okay, 93 and e takes on d4 would have actually here, I'm pretty sure would have granted Janowski a big enough advantage to win the game, because if you take the pawn back now, you're just trash. d5 and you're getting destroyed, and why you're getting destroyed is even more amazing, because you're gonna take the pawn and you cannot really defend the pawn. Like if you try knight c4, the idea that has been tried in the game, now you're just gonna get castles, and if you try to take, well, now look at your pieces. Like the king is in the middle, the pawns are all doubled, nothing is developed. What are you gonna do? And black is just crushing here. So I don't know why Janowski didn't go for this idea of trying to open things up. Maybe, and I suspect he was afraid of this, but this is also bad, because now knight c6 and you're not being able to defend this pawn. Bishop e3, and I think maybe Janowski stopped somewhere here, but now you're just gonna unlock this square. I mean, this is just insanely bad, and this should just have been played simply. But f5, and now Lasker is all of a sudden back in the game. Knight c4 and everything is fine. F takes on e4, and here obviously it's very hard to decide whether which pawn or to take, or whether to take or not here in the center. And this would be a mistake, but not because of this, but because of this move, knight f6, and now if you try to play f takes on e5, well, this pawn is gonna be under attack, and if you're not gonna do anything about it, like if you're gonna play queen to d3, for example, trying to defend, now e takes on d4, and we have the same idea, knight to c6, and here if you try to take, okay, e takes, and now the rook is gonna come in the game, and again, black is just all over white. F takes on e5, and now d takes on e5. Knight takes on e5, and Lasker kind of is able to solve this by taking the pawn on e5, and now, funny enough, if you take this pawn, you're basically lost as black, because now white simply is solid enough with this pawn chain here. So instead of that, Janowski goes for knight c6, and after this trade, well, bishop g2 is played. And now Janowski is back in control, but only if he develops the knight now. Instead of that, he plays queen to h5, pinning the pawn, right, not allowing this pawn to be taken. But bishop to e3 is played now, defending, also just making everything solid, allowing the queen to move, maybe the rook to come in the game. And now we have a check, king to f2, knight e7, and now f takes on e4. And well, here basically Lasker offers a draw here with this move. He could have played something like queen e2, for example, but he just offered the draw here, and really the draw is well, like castles, and here's the draw. Check, queen blocks, check, queen blocks, check, queen blocks, blah blah. But Janowski, obviously, he was sick of everything. He didn't want to just draw again, right? He was on the verge of losing, so he played queen to h5, losing the whole match, of course, and now c5. So now he was getting aggressive, but now it's just, now it was too late. But it's not too late. It's never too late, because here Lasker makes a mistake by taking the pawn here, and this. Now, Janowski has to play one move and one move only. Queen to g4, and this would have, I'm pretty sure, granted him the win. Queen g4, because now everything kind of falls into place, right? Like, everything kind of falls into place. Queen back to d7, for example, and now, just, you have everything that you, here, if c takes on b6, no problem, c5. You don't even care, right? And this would have just been crushing. Finally for black, and this time for the last time, so to say. But here bishop a5 is played. For some weird reason, Janowski just got scared, and Lasker is now back, and when he gets up, he's stronger each time. And after knight f5, Lasker correctly spots rook takes on f5, and now king to c2, sliding out of danger, and rook to b8 now is the final blunder, right? In chess, it doesn't matter who makes the first blunder, it doesn't matter who makes the second blunder, it only matters who makes the final blunder. And here Lasker spots a very nice move, bishop f1, defending the queen, because the queen was pinned, attacking Janowski's queen. Queen has to move, but now e takes on f5, and if you take, right, you're just down a piece. So Janowski tried the check, but now we just have rook here, queen to e5, bishop d4, and Janowski just resigns, because if you're gonna go back, well, just rook takes on g7, forcing this, and now it's just, it's game over, obviously. So Lasker again showed class, and it doesn't matter if you trash, like, it doesn't matter if you say that I'm gonna beat you, you're not, you don't have a chess game, you only have dominoes, and everything's just gonna fall over. Well, 8-0. Congratulations to Lasker, and next week is gonna be one of the most insane games. See you all in the next one. Kowalsky